Γεια και χαρά σας. Hello, dear friends. Here we're again, Rock Hard, doing the live chat with RIOT and Don VanStavern. We're waiting for guys from Don to check in. Hello, Constantine. Feel free to send your questions. Χαιρετώ και τον Κώστα. Let's find with Don will appear in our stage. Hey, Don.
How you doing, man?
How are you?
Hey. All right. How's
So
it going?
it was easy for everybody to check in. Okay, I think
Cool, man.
I think it was nice and easy. There was nothing to be afraid about. So
I'm scared a little bit.
yeah, I'm scared too. Last time I did this Instagram live with Conception from Norway, and one of the band, I remember the singer Roy Khan couldn't connect, so I had Tore, his guitar player, who had connected with him on his iPad, and he was holding the iPad on his feet like this, and so Tore and Roy, one live and one from his iPad, so it was no problem. So we could double check with anyone. It's 12 in the noon in the States, right?
Yeah.
Where you are right now. Mm-hmm.
I'm actually in Texas right now.
Yeah.
The band is all over. You know, Todd, the singer, lives in Michigan, and the rest of the guys are in New York and Jersey area, and I'm the only cowboy, and I'm in Texas. So it's 12 here, and it's like 1 o'clock there for the rest of the band.
Yeah, in Europe it's from 6 to 8 in the afternoon. In Greece it's 8 in the afternoon. So there are people always joining in, going in and out. Some people have sent us a few questions to be answered. Some of them are serious, some of them are funny.
Okay.
All this is for fun, because almost all the bands are inactive during this pandemic, and you cannot play live. In most cases, the musicians couldn't meet each other in order to play some music together. So it's don't know what to say. It's a situation where you should communicate with your fans, and doing live chats like this is a very good way to keep contact with your fans, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way at this point with what's going on. You know, we keep in touch with the guys. We're actually recording in pre-production for a new record, but everybody has a studio where they're at. So we basically record and send the files to the producer or whatnot. So we're able to at least do that. You know, playing live is a different animal right now because of, like you said, the pandemic that's going on. So we're just dealing with it, you know. But you know, we are RIOT, so we will riot.
You will riot, and
we will.
I think you will riot 5 times because it's RIOT V.
Yes, we will. Times 5.
Times 5. Why RIOT V? That's a question. And why RIOT times 5? It's because of the band members?
Well, you know, when Mark passed away in 2012, you know, he was the lasting original member. And, you know, there was a lot of thought about what if we were going to go on, you know, because sometimes it's a touchy subject for people. Although me and Mike Flint's the guitar player, have been in the band longer than anybody. you know, over 30 years. Sometimes people, you know, say, well, the original guy from the beginning, you know. So we took that to heart, you know, and we said, well, okay. When he passed away, his family, his father Tony and Mark told us, you know, continue on, you know, no matter what happens, because Mark was very ill during the last few years of his life. He had Crohn's disease, so he was dealing that. I would have to take him to the hospital all the time, and even on Immortal Soul, our comeback record, he only played a few rhythm tracks, and Mike did most of the work. So anyway, when he did pass on, it took a while for us to recoup and decide what we want to do. Mixed emotions. Mike was very close and didn't know if we should continue at all. And I said, well, you know, maybe we continue for the legacy of the band and his family, like Mark wanted. And let's do it with style and grace. Let's not just go out there to make money or do it the wrong way, you know. So when we came back, we were going to just keep it Riot. And then we started saying, well, maybe we should do something with the name a little bit out of respect. We do own the rights to the name. We didn't have to change it. Mark's dad, Mr. Reale, is still a family member. We still are in touch with him. And we just decided to go, okay, well, let's think of something. And I came up with the idea of the V. And it's actually a Roman numeral 5, as you know.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, is it a V? It's like, no, it's meant to be 5. And I decided it's the 5th chapter of the band. That's what it's supposed to mean. Because, as you know, Riot's had many member changes and different styles. Like you had the first chapter, which was, you know, Guy Speranza, and Rick and Mark and Peter and Jimmy leading, and including Lou, you know, on Rock City. That was kind of the chapter 1. And then when they got Rhett, a new voice, a new sound, chapter 2. And then I joined chapter 3, the Thunderstill. We added Tony Moore's voice and more power metal. And then chapter 4, after I had left, they went more, you know, with DeMeo on vocals, Mike DeMeo, in that style with, you know, they had the more rainbow kind of sound. And then that leading on to where we're at now. You know, I mean, Thunderstill regrouped, but that's still chapter 3. So I said, okay, well, here we are. We got, you know, me and Mike continuing to carry the flag, and we got a few new members, and this is the 5th chapter of the band, the sound and the voice. So basically, Todd Michael Hall is the 5th singer, and the music you hear is the 5th chapter of what we sound like, which is it's almost a little bit of everything, like Mike's era during DeMeo and me during Thunderstill, so you can hear that style in it. So that's kind of where it came from, you know, just wanting to change it a little bit out of respect. But we're Riot, or Riot 5, whatever you wish.
What happens in Japan? I think in Japan you're still described or written as Riot, not Riot 5 times 5.
Yeah, well, you know, in Japan, you know, it's a big market for us. And a lot of bands, you know, a lot of bands are big over there.
Of your musical style. I mean, Japanese love melodic metal and melodic music, and there are so many bands that are big in Japan, and people might not even know them in Europe, for example.
Exactly, and we run into those all the time. We play festivals in Japan, and even, you know, over there, and there's bands that are huge, and over here they never even heard of them. So that being said, even in the States where we're from, we still have that mid-range, you know, following and, you know, and filling up venues, you know, because we're a band, you know, from back in the late 70s, early 80s. Japan has always thought of us as, you know, like a Judas Priest. Yeah. Like we go over there and we play huge places by ourselves. We don't need a support act. And there's, you know, we play the biggest places, and even when we do Loud Park, the huge festival with big bands, they put us up there right next to the headliner. We've always had a relationship with them ever since the beginning. When we first went over there in '89, it took them that long to go over there. None of the other lineups were able to go, and the Thunderstill lineup was the first to go over there, and it was incredible. You know, people at the airport, camping out, people at the venue. I mean, it was ridiculous. So like we were the Beatles, the heavy metal Beatles. So we've always had a really good relationship with them. And I think they want us to stay Riot. They feel like they have that bond. Like, we know who you are, even though you want to alter the name. We still feel like, you know, you're Riot no matter what it is. And on the business side of things, the labels and some of the promoters say, you're Riot, you know, we want you to stay as Riot. And I think the people are smart enough to know.
Everyone is calling you Riot, so it's I've heard no one say that I'm going to watch a Riot V or a Riot x5, so they all say we're going to see Riot. No, I'm buying the new Riot album. So I guess okay, everything is being done out of respect to Mark and his legacy.
People know who we are, so whatever you want to call us.
Yeah, it's Riot. It's the main word anyway. Anyways, Riot. Now that you mentioned Japan, in which countries do you think that Riot has a bigger name right now?
Well, Japan, of course, we mentioned, is probably one of the biggest because of that. But I would say there's a few that are probably some of the biggest straws and that are, you know, dear to our heart. We have a relationship with. I mean, first of all, you know, not to knock my own homeland, you know, the United States, but, you know, overseas we're a lot more known because over there's still a place for heavy metal. Over here, you know, I'm sure you have it over there too, you know, a lot of the kiddie bands and rap and stuff like that. Well, it's dominating over here, but over there, there's still, we'll play a venue over there and it'll be full, and over here it might be, you know, midway packed. Anyway, I would say, you know, Greece, one of them. Greece is a great one, in Germany. Those are probably some of the biggest markets. Japan, Germany, and Greece and Spain. Those are some of the places, you know, that are the biggest. I mean, the fans, you know, in all over the place, Belgium and you know, the other places, they're dear to our heart, and they mean well, but the turnouts aren't like you guys.
My friend and editor of Rock Hard, George, has seen you in Japan, in Loud Park, a couple of years ago. And he had told me in your reunion show with late Lou and everybody else. And he told me that he's married to a Japanese girl and Japan is his second home. And he told me, you can imagine what happened when Riot went on stage. I mean, it's like watching Iron Maiden or Judas Priest. Yeah. It's like that,
That's, I know, George. I mean, it's like that. It's just one thing. We know when we go over there, it's like Iron Maiden or Judas Priest. We have full production, the whole show, and they treat us, you know, like that, you know. So it's a good feeling for a week.
It's like an escape. It's like entering an escape room and escape reality.
I'm a big rock star for a week, and then I come back and I'm a mid-range rock star.
Mike asks, would you take part in a talent show like Todd did in The Voice? Did you follow him in The Voice?
Yeah. We followed him. It was interesting, you know. I mean, I think basically what happened with Todd is, and I spoke to him about it, and he said that it was nothing, you know, that he had, you know, dreamt about doing or anything. It was just a spur of the moment. He happened to be, you know, where they were doing auditions in the Chicago area, and he said, "Hey, this will be funny. I'm just going to go there and sing," and thought nothing of it. You know, it's kind of funny. And then all of a sudden, he talked to me. He goes, "Wow, I just sang a Foreigner song, and they flipped out, and they said, oh, it's great, and they gave me a ticket." And I was like, "Wow!" So that turned into, he went down there for the auditions, and he told us, some of the behind the scenes that goes on. It was really cool, and it was filmed way ahead of time, and all that. So of course we were pulling for him. We were just kind of like, this is strange, because those things, I watch them sometimes, but basically, it's almost a game show competition for singers and up and coming people. And so I think he just did it, just off the whim. And it turned out where it surprised all of us, where he, went on live television here. And that's a very big show in America. It's on NBC. It's huge. And he had the chairs turned by John Legend and Blake Shelton. And we were like, what is going on? Not in a million years would you think the singer from Riot would be on national TV, besides MTV back in the day.
Yeah, but, okay. MTV doesn't count because they were...
Yeah, MTV doesn't count anymore because I'm not teen and pregnant. So anyway, we followed him, and we thought, it was going to, be short, and it went longer than we thought, and we were very proud of him because he is a great singer, and I think he might have sold himself short because saying, I don't think I just went over there, but the guy's capable of singing, and they saw it even for a normal person. Yeah, even for a person like Blake Shelton and John Legend, they were like, this guy's range is incredible. I mean, he's got something. So he went on, a couple rounds, and we backed him, and it didn't hurt Riot either, people knowing that he was the singer. So it was kind of a cool thing for all of us. So it was fun.
Let me tell you something. I talked with many Riot fans in Greece and discussed about how do they see Todd's participation in The Voice, because many metalheads think that, okay, this is shit TV, these talent shows are for pop stars, and no metalhead should go there. And I think that they respected 100% him going there anyway, and they really enjoyed. And I think that in every clip that was uploaded on YouTube from last night's performance, they always shared it through social media and commented on it very positively. And I didn't think that they would approve of Todd singing there, but by watching this, I saw that they really enjoyed his participation in the talent show, and didn't expect.
I think what happens is, and I'm kind of on the fence about those shows too. I mean, I think they're funny, and they're for people that are trying to get into the business. They're kind of karaoke-ish at times. But, like I said, Todd was already established, and he did it for, in the very beginning just to see, what he could do. And then, of course, he was on there. But I knew we would get a little bit of backlash, and I saw some of the comments. People, why is he doing this? He is better than this. He doesn't need to do this. And he's already in a professional band, and a couple of people didn't like it. And, I take it for what it's worth. He had a good time. He learned a lot from this show. He got to, rub elbows with some very, very big people. And, it's good for his name, and it's good for us. And so either way, I probably wouldn't watch it if it wasn't for Todd. So,
okay. Me neither, but I was watching all the clips with Todd. There's another guy asking, why did you release your live album from AFM Records, the compilation album Rock World through Metal Blade, and your studio album through Nuclear Blast? That's three different contracts.
Well, yeah, that was kind of strange too for us. But what ended up happening is that we're in Nuclear Blast in all the territories and markets except for Japan. We're with Ward Records in Japan. We did a separate deal over there. Obviously, like we were talking about how we are in Japan, you want to do an outside deal there. I mean, to be honest, the money's great for us in a market like that. So we do two separate deals. And Nuclear Blast did the record, and then Ward is actually the one that did the DVD for AFM. They did a deal with him because the original deal with Ward was a studio record and a live DVD in the future, and they released the record, licensed it from Nuclear Blast, but they were going to do this DVD on their own, and it didn't come out on the Ward record. They ended up negotiating another deal with AFM. And so AFM says, we're going to do it, and the whole Metal Blade and all that stuff got a hold of it, and so they did the deal. But our deal was with Ward Records only. Basically, they said, you're giving us an album and a DVD, and they could do whatever they want. So they put it out and marketed it. So.
And the Rock World compilation through Metal Blade, it was through Word from Japan.
Yeah, those records, we get a lot of questions about those records, you know. There's been like so many box sets of like, you know, the Rock World and 1 or 2 and 3 and 4 and 5.
Yeah, I have from some bootleg, something official bootlegs from Cherry Red Records, some box sets, archives, Riot archives or something like that. I think I have a couple of them.
Yeah, they put out, it was what ended up happening basically when people ask. We have a friend of ours, he manages Graham Bonnet, and he works with Riot. And he basically went over to Mr. Reality's house and Mark's dad, and they went through Mark's belongings in his room when he passed away, and they made a compilation. They just found old CDs and tapes. I mean stuff on cassette tape, you know, back in the day. So what they decided to do, help out Mr. Reality financially a little bit, is take these to a studio, bake them, remaster them, and put them out through various little companies. I think there was Cherry Red and there was High Roller and you know, and then some Japanese stuff. And so what they ended up doing is they just did all these things and make a deal with each one. And the money pretty much went to the estate of Mark Reale and his father. So people are always like, well, is this official? It is official, but Riot and Riot 5, we didn't have a lot to do with it. And we didn't really make any of the money that was, you know, done.
Yeah.
It was mainly for Mark. So they're legitimate, but they were done through Mark's dad, Tony, and Giles. Me and Mike were in the loop on it, but we knew what they were for.
Mm-hmm. There's another question asking you what led to your departure after the Privilege of Power album.
You know, there's a lot of stuff going on in the Riot camp at the time. I know you've probably seen stories in the documentary they did, and they, you know, a lot of the members blame it on, you know, financial misdealings and misappropriation of funds and stuff like that. Well, I think back what happened was there was a fellow who basically discovered Riot and produced all the records up until, you know, the latter DeMeo stuff. And with the misdealings going on, I think I got a piece of it a little bit. And I still talk to the guy, and he's, you know, he's okay. You know, business is business, and shit happens. But at the time, I felt like we were on a high because Riot just came back. You know, Thunderstill, new lineup, new sound. And I was responsible for a lot of the sound because, as you know, I had known Mark since Fire Down Under, and I knew all the guys before I actually joined the group. And so when I came in, you know, Mark, you know, called me to come in after we made that Mark solo band, Narita. We did some demoing with Dave from Machine Head and Sacred Reich and Steve Cooper. We did some demoing for Narita, which ended up turning into the Thunderstill lineup, and we ended up getting Bobby Jerzombic and Tony Moore. So that was a rebirth of Riot, and a lot of the music was from me because I have a metal background. Like, I think pretty much 7, 8 of the songs I wrote on Thunderstone, co-wrote a few with Mark. And it was a point where Riot it was a rebirth and people were digging it, the power metal. And so when we went to Privilege of Power, they did the same thing. They told me, you know, so I wrote On Your Knees and you know, and you know, some of the bigger songs on that record too. And we went to tour again, and all of a sudden the money was getting a little bit smaller. And I was wondering, I was like, well, I'm writing most material for those two records, and all of a sudden the money's getting a little bit smaller. So I was kind of questioning everything. And they weren't very happy about me questioning everything. And I said, well, I don't expect to become a millionaire on the status of like RIOT, but I still want, what I think is due to me.
Yeah,
because, we've paid dues. Me and Mark, we have, slept on hotel room floors and paid dues. We don't care, but what's fair is fair. And I didn't think I was getting a fair deal. And so I discussed it with the guys, and they were very firm. RIOT had a very firm, hard management at the time. Some of the Italian connection guys, shall we say. And so basically they didn't want nobody to rock the boat at the time. So it was basically, I got pushed out a little bit. And then I just told Mark one day, I said, and I gave Mark advice too. I said, you've been working with these guys for, 12, 15 years. You wrote Swords and Tequila. You wrote some anthems, and you're living with your parents in a basement, and you don't have a pot to piss in. Something's got to be wrong, bro. You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on. Mark died, a broke man, basically. I mean, it's a sad situation, but I didn't want it to happen. And I said, you know what? I'd rather walk away being the one with all the creative input and not being compensated for it than continue on building the sound of the band and getting shit on. So at the time, I talked to Mark and Bobby, and I said, guys, I'm going to bolt out of here. And, Tony Moore at the time says he was going to leave with me. He ended up sticking around for, another tour and whatnot, but he ended up leaving for the same reasons, So I just don't think they gave credit where credit was due when you're building a band. We all have to work together, Take your percentage, that's cool. Don't take everything.
So now that I saw my friends from the band Bad Karma joining in, have you heard a song from the Greek band Bad Karma? It's called "Still Our Men," and it's a homage to Mark Viali. And have you heard this?
I heard it. I even posted it on my site, on my Facebook. I posted it. It was really cool. I talked to the guys on Facebook, I think, or somebody, and I ended up telling them that it was great. I like the way they did the lyrics, and I like the sound of it. It's it sounds like a tribute to RIOT, and
it's actually a tribute.
The words they used were really cool. The way they did everything.
Yeah, I really
thought it was really cool. And they're a great band. They're really cool. Maybe they can play with us when we go back over there. When we go back over there.
Who knows?
Who knows at this point?
It's not a matter of wanting anyone wanting to bring you here. It's a matter of if you are allowed to travel and play. I was just
right.
I was just talking this morning with a band that they were called to play heavy metal show with seats, and they still don't know how the fans will react. So they will get up and start headbanging, and so
it's a different ball game now. So I guess we'll all just have to deal with it. You know what I mean?
So
but
there's another question about the baby seal. Would you change the baby seal as a kind of a mascot for the band, or is it well established right now for 40 years? So you won't touch it.
Well, I mean, that's one of the most asked questions in, believe it or not, in like RIOT and stuff like that. They'll say, what is going on with the seal? And basically, when I joined the band, Mark, used to tell me stories of how it came about. Actually, before I joined the band, because I was Mark's friend, and I asked him, where'd that seal come from? That's weird. But basically... Yeah, it was the original guy I was talking about that discovered the band and produced all the records. His brother-in-law, his sister's husband, was an avant-garde artist in New York. And he had this idea about the clubbing of the SEALs back then and their retaliation where they, you know, they kill mankind and destroy cities and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was kind of quirky. I was kind of like, okay, that's weird for heavy metal. But they kept up with the guy. And then on Narita, you know, they had him. He was a little more short and squatty this time, like a sumo wrestler. And he, you know, and that cover was about, you know, something, the Narita airport built on sacred grounds and the planes were crashing and the SEAL was there to protect. And then, of course, Fire Down There is just a big picture of his face. And I was just like, this is kind of weird, you know. Iron Maiden's got, you know, Eddie the Head and Megadeth's got Vic Rattlehead, you know, and stuff like that. And then there's a SEAL. I mean, how tough is a SEAL?
Let me tell you something. If you want to get rid of the shield, of this SEAL, so in your next album, you'll present the SEAL as an old SEAL, that's 40 years old, about to die, and in your very next album, you say the SEAL is dead. You know, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's a natural process, you know. It got older and died.
Well, you know, that's why I tried to toughen him up a little bit.
Yeah, and massive other stuff.
Yeah, because what happened was, you know, when on Thunderstill, we kind of lost him because, you know, the guys were going like, well, what we should do is we should use something else since it's power metal now. So we were like, okay. And then Tony Moore actually had an artist friend that you know, put that album cover together and stuff. We were like, okay, that's cool, you know, but it was kind of weird. It was like a, you know, like a space age comic book guy. And we were like, all right, well, we'll deal with this. And then we were kind of like, you know, maybe people want the SEAL back. So in Privilege of Power, there was no SEAL except he was in one of the TV sets on the cover. So we were like, okay, we kind of threw him in there and we stick him on there. We even had a picture of Super Johnny on the back of Thunderstill, but we ended up, you know, getting rid of him. And, you know, during the Mayo era, they got rid of him, you know, for the most part.
They even transformed it to a shark, I think.
Yeah. Like, what the hell? That was getting a little tougher. At least they had a shark and not a SEAL, because a shark will eat a SEAL maybe. So that being said, when we went back and we decided, you know, to do the Riot 5, I said, you know, I think I want to bring the guy back because he's very recognizable. Whether you like him or not, people know who he is. You know, they're like, oh, that's so stupid. The best music with the worst album covers. It's like, well, you know, at least you know he's the mighty T.R. So when we did the comeback with Riot 5, I wanted to bring him back, but I said I'm not going to do him, you know, soft and pretty and a little furry guy. I said I want to make him muscular, fangs, like he's back, but we're more vicious than ever, like the sound of the music. You know, we're very aggressive music now, and Johnny's back, but he's more vicious now, you know. So he's back, you know. We just had to make him buff, so, you know, it's Todd Michael Hall with a wig and a mask.
Perhaps he should take the SEAL to The Voice.
He's got he should have came out with a mask on.
Yeah, with a SEAL mask.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there's always when there's a kind of an article about the worst covers in heavy metal. There's always something with the SEAL and the first Riot albums, and it's funny because they could as well be in some lists of the best heavy metal albums ever, and they end up being in the worst heavy metal cover albums.
Well, we got number one on a couple charts, which ain't bad, but you know that they used to have that show here in the States, that the metal show with the Eddie Trunk fella. It was like a TV show, and they used to have a top 10 list, and we were number one with the worst album cover, best music, and I think it was like Fire Down Under or something. I'll take it.
Yeah. Let's take number one, At anything.
Yeah,
Let's
well,
at least you're number one at something.
that's right.
uh, so there's a guy asking you, what do you think about the band's albums with Mike DiMeo?
They're cool. They were different style, like I said.
The rainbow,
One thing,
rainbow style.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. One thing about Riot is, and Mark Reale used to say this all the time to me. The secret to the band's longevity of Riot is through putting out good music, because metal fans are smart. If they hear something quirky, they won't like it, or they'll tell you. But Mark always had this knack for putting out good music with in style or singer. Like I said, I described the 5 chapters, and the DiMeo chapter was another one, because you're coming from power metal, Tony Moore high singing Thundersteel, to more of a groove Rainbow Whitesnake DiMeo singing. He had the chops like Coverdale and Paul Rogers, and Mark really loved that style of singing. And so they changed directions, but I thought it was really good. I mean, I kept an eye on Riot when I was, either in the band or out of the band, and the DiMeo stuff was real good. The Nightbreaker, when I heard Nightbreaker, I thought that was really cool. And, he probably had one of the best voices of all the singers, because he's got a lot of swagger and soul to his voice. They did a different style. And it was cool. It was just different, but it was good. Like I said, all the eras were different. You got Swords and Tequila with that style of voice was great. And then you get Hard Loving Man with Rhett, and that was great. Tony Moore on Thundersteel, that was great. And you get stuff like, Destiny, and Angel Eyes, stuff like that with DiMeo, and that shit was great. I mean, just, he had a knack for, putting together good music with various singers, and I liked it. I liked all the styles of the band.
Talking about different songs, there's a couple of questions about the Riot songs. First one, which Riot song you'll never get tired of playing live? Your Smoke on the Water.
Yeah. I mean, there's some songs that you have to play, obviously, too. I mean, there's those handfuls that, you have to play. So I would say,
because fans like it, okay, but it's for your taste, for your musical taste. Which song you will never get tired?
It's probably got to be Thundersteel.
Mm-hmm.
Because Thundersteel holds a place in my heart, musically, obviously, but that was one of the first songs we put together. I think the first song I wrote was probably Johnny's Back in Fight or Fall, when we were doing the other band, Narita, Mark's solo band, and me and Mark put together Thundersteel. That was one of our first compositions together, and it just had a sound, and every time I hear it live, with the double bass and the dual lead guitars and the melody of it, I just think it's a really cool song, and it represents, our era of Riot. Like Swords and Tequila was the early Riot, Thundersteel was the latter, And so that one, I never get tired of playing it, and we'll always have to play that song.
Yeah.
So, so I love it. Flight of the Warrior, Johnny's Back, from that era. And then, of course, some of the new stuff I really like, the Armor of Light and Unleash the Fire stuff I really like playing live as well.
Another song-related question is one, if someone doesn't know Riot, which song would you pick as the most representative one?
Well, again, I mean, with so much of the various style, it's hard to say, because you could pick one from each era. If I was so selfish to say Thundersteel, again, because it was a game changer. It was in the forefront of the power metal movement, and a lot of bands were influenced by that record. The Hammerfalls and people like that, Joachim and them, they very influenced by that. They even did Flight of the Warrior on their masterpieces.
Yeah.
And I'm good friends with them now. And so it was real influential for a lot of bands, and a lot of people don't even know us before Thundersteel. I mean, there's a lot of Ulsters that do, of course, but we'll meet a lot of fans at festivals, and they'll be like, we never even heard of you till Thunderstill, and then we got into the early catalog. But I mean, it would be hard to say. I mean, it's just pivotal. I mean, Thunderstill was pivotal, and like I said, from the early era, you probably have to pick Swords and Tequila, and those are probably some of the biggest ones. And obviously, the DeMeo would be like Angel Eyes, and Rhett would be Restless Breed. Those are big pivotal songs. But I would say, if you want to know who we are, especially Riot 5 right now, probably Thunderstill.
Yeah, Thunderstill, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a tricky question. Which is your worst bandmate while on tour?
Worst bandmate while?
Perhaps the snoring guy.
Yeah. We do have a snoring guy. We call him the Kraken. Actually, the band, we do have some hardships here and there, but we're like brothers. Like when you have disagreements with your brothers, some arguments are not so big, and some of them are very big where we won't speak to each other. So, but we've all been a part of that with some of the band members. But for the most part, everything's been cool. But we all like to party on the road. We have a good time. I think if we had to give out the snoring award, it would have to go to Frank, the drummer. I think he probably takes the snoring award, and I would probably be a close second.
Another touring question: which is the best band that you have ever toured with?
Well, I mean, we haven't really toured with a lot of bands, I mean, it's in Riot's career, believe it or not. I mean, in the early days, Mark and them got to tour with, some really cool stuff like AC/DC and Rainbow and Rush and all that stuff. In our day, in the Thunderstill, we did like our own headline tours, and even Riot 5 right now, basically headline tours, and we've jumped on board with like Primal Fear and different bands like that. Festival-wise, obviously we've got to play with the biggest bands, from Priest, Iron Maiden, Journey, those kind of bands. Primal Fear was probably one of the last big tours we did with the whole bus and met everybody. And they're really cool guys. I mean, we got to meet Ralph Sheepers and Matt Sinner. We became very good friends with them, and we're in touch with them. And on the road, we actually shared a bus. We had a double-decker nightliner, and we had upstairs and downstairs. And when you're living with people on the road, it's like, your house, and you never know what to think. But when we toured with the guys, they became brothers immediately. They were respectful, and we all had a good time, and it meshed together well. And so, probably the latter one is probably one of the best.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a question here from a guy. Would you do a documentary movie? I think you have lots of things to tell. And it would be with so many deaths, God forbid. I mean, with so many deaths, it would be kind of people that don't know Riot will have something to watch. I mean, it will have a success. It will have deaths. It will have the ups and downs. Many different lineups. So many things to talk about. 40-year career. I mean, you even had a member dying from coronavirus, my compatriot Lou, which was...
We've had some history, and I've often thought about it. There has been some people that did small documentaries for the band. The Metal Voice did one, and I think Martin Popoff did a book a little bit. It was more about the music. I often said that, and Mark always used to use that, like, I could write a book. And it's like, yeah, we could write a book because, a band like Riot, like you said, we have gone through a lot. People endure a death maybe and different things, but you're talking about a band, 40 years of member changes, deaths, management. That's why people say this is the
different
band that
labels. Yeah.
This is the band that should have been a lot bigger than they are, and I think because of, bad managerial decisions that probably hurt the band, but that could be in the book because I heard stories even before I was in the band experiencing them. Mark told me, Cliff Bernstein and was trying to manage them, Black Sabbath's manager, and Metallica's manager, you know, and people like that, and the management wouldn't let him go, and they had so many hardships, you know, with breakups, and I mean, you know, yeah, a documentary, a proper one where everybody says what was going on and happened. I mean, we could talk about everything, like you said. Guy Speranza, you know, he left because of the problems, internal problems, and he came from a, you know, Italian family who didn't like the rock and roll thing. They wanted him to, you know, just be a regular dude because the band wasn't flourishing. They're like, don't waste your time. So then, you know, and Red, of course, you know, well, guy died of pancreatic cancer. You know, guy was spraying bugs at the time of his death. He's an exterminator. I mean, Guy Speranza, give me a fucking break. Guy was a legend. He had a voice like no other. And look what happened to the poor guy. And then, of course, Rhett Forrester was in Atlanta for the Super Bowl at the time. And that's where he was from. He's from Atlanta, Georgia. And he got carjacked by a couple guys, and they shot him. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm going, what is going on? It's like the curse of RIOT, you know? Yeah. And so that happened. And then, you know, moving along again, you know, rolling with the punches and member changes. And then, of course, you know, and then Mark dies, which was really a tough one because he was the leader. And he was my friend. He was one of my best friends. He lived with me. I lived with him in the early days. A lot of people don't know, but I was living with Mark in Brooklyn, New York, back in 81, 82 when Fire Down Under came out. I knew all the guys. And it was when I was in the Texas Slayer. He would come to Texas and stay at my house and play music with us and stuff. So we became very good friends. So we were already writing music before I was in RIOT, although I did write a few songs on Born in America, but I wasn't on actually the player on the record. Kip was, but I had wrote those songs. And so, you know, you have a little bit of that history. And then, of course, moving on with, you know, Lou. You know, we got to know Lou when we, you know, kept RIOT going because we thought, I thought, you know, why don't we start bringing some of the family in, you know, because we're continuing, you know, Mark's passed away, but this is one big family. And that's one good thing that, about that is, you know, Mike Flinch takes care of Tony Reale now because he's a very old man. He was there wasn't a lot of family with him at the time. So Mike was, you know, cutting the lawn and having coffee with him and doing his finances and taking him to the hospital. So it's like one big family. So I suggested, I said, hey, when we go to Japan, why don't we bring some of the old guys? You know, let's see if we can get Lou and Rick, you know, because they're the forefathers of the band, you know, and it would be, you know, an honor to get up there and jam. And so that was part of the plan. So, you know, we got in touch with Lou, and he would come to rehearsals, and we got to know him. And we played Greece with him.
Yeah.
We played.
You played Japan and Greece.
Yeah, Japan and Greece with Lou, and then Rick went to Japan. We took Rick Ventura to Japan, and he also played a Texas tour. Was a Fire Down Under, and we thought we'd bring him because it's Fire Down Under. He was on that record, so he should be on that tour where we did Fire Down Under in its entirety. So, you know, we got to know Lou, and then all of a sudden, you know, we're talking to him all the time, and he put RIOT Act together with Rick, and we're like, great, you know, they're representing a different era, you know. We never stepped on each other's toes. You know, we do, like I said, we do Thunder Still, and we play a few old songs for the fans, but they were doing that, and then all of a sudden, I think I was in like a store. I was shopping, and I got a text that said, I heard through the grapevine Lou might have died. I was just shocked, dropped my phone. I was like, you have to be kidding me. Yeah. And then it was a friend of mine. Yeah, a friend of mine, Giles, did it, text me. And the first thing I did, obviously, I went to, I texted Rick Ventura right away because they were playing together. Yeah. And I said, Rick, my text was, Rick, I heard a rumor. Please tell me it's not true. That's all I put. And he wrote back, he says, I'm gutted. It is true. And then when we started hearing what happened, they said that he caught the disease, the COVID, and it ended up getting them, you know. And so that was another thing. It's like the curse is back, you know. It's just like, you know, just when he was starting, you know, like, because, you know, he was starting to come back with the Riot Act, and I think
they were coming to Greece. They were coming to Greece in a month from. I think he died, and either they were about to come to Greece, or they had their show had been cancelled, had just been cancelled, or something like that.
It was like that. It just got canceled, and because of what's going on now, and you know, so that was also a hit. That's a hit to us and all the bands. And then all of a sudden, it was a hit for them because, you know, Lou, he never got his due in Riot. You know, he was on the half of the first record. He never got to really tour with the band. Rick took over on the Rock City tour. So this was his chance to kind of get out there and do his thing that he was never able to do. And so I think we helped him. And I can at least proudly say I got to share a few big stages with Lou Cavaris, before his passing, which it makes me feel happy inside that I was able to do that, because, you know, he passed away, you know, before he got to go out there and do his thing. So, but anyway,
at least you played,
I mean, there's so many things, you know, I could write a book with 100
Let's not reveal everything in this live chat.
It's crazy.
Before ending this, because Instagram allows us only 60 minutes and we are approaching it, there's a friend of mine asking Maiden or Metallica. He says, Bruce Dickinson said in the past that Metallica may have sold more albums than Maiden, but Iron Maiden is the biggest band in the planet. Do you agree with that?
Well, shoot. I would say Riot. You know, it's a hard call because I grew up with both of them. I grew up with Metallica and Iron Maiden. I was influenced a little more by Iron Maiden with the dual leads and that kind of music. But you know, Metallica might be, you know, people might give me flack to saying I give Metallica the edge because they were there first with the Kill 'Em All and the Raven tour. I was at the Kill 'Em All for One tour with Raven, and that kind of started leading the way. You know, I also saw the Iron Maiden opening for Judas Priest tour and stuff. I'm a big Di'Anno fan. I love Bruce Dickinson. I love Paul Di'Anno. I love Prowler and the early stuff. So, you know, to say who's bigger, I've seen them both. Maiden played in a regular Coliseum and in a regular theater, and Metallica played a stadium. So there's a lot of people, you know, that are still, you know, still going to see Metallica. So that's a tough one. I think they both earned their place. Writing wise in music, maybe Iron Maiden. Popularity, Metallica.
But so before ending this, you have told us in the beginning that you are in the pre-production stages of a new album. Can you tell us more about this?
Yeah, well, obviously we had a few things. We had a tour cancel. It was going to be a 3-week tour. Obviously, it got shut down. Some of it got postponed. So we're using this time, you know, to work on music right now, because I think a lot of bands are doing that. We were supposed to play July 4th with Kiss and Judas Priest in Barcelona, Rockfest Barcelona, canceled. And, you know, Bang Your Head was postponed. We'll be back at that one in 2021. And then we had a tour planned. It was just about to be announced. A month tour with our opening acts were Night Demon and Fifth Angel, and Ken Mary's band, canceled. So we decided, let's do something. So everybody's been working on music, and let's get into pre-production. I talked to Marcus at Nuclear Blast. He said, yeah, let's get a record out in 2021. So basically, I went into writing, and I wrote like 20 songs and trying to pick the best, you know, dozen. And so Frank has laid a couple drum tracks. Todd has sang a couple vocal tracks, and it's similar to, like, you know, Riot, Thunder Steel, Unleash the Fire. We're going to do a little bit of power metal, but we're going to get back to our roots, and there's a couple rock and roll songs on there. There's a ballad on there, and so it's going to be a well-rounded record. I know Armor Light was a punch in the face pretty much, but we're going to get back to a well-rounded Riot record, and it'll be out in the latter part of 2021. So that's what we've been doing right now, and then I'm doing interviews with Rock Hard Grease.
Thank you very much for this, John. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your enthusiasm to speak to the fans, not only Greece, but I know that Greece struck a light to you when I approached you. So I really appreciate that. This interview will be uploaded in YouTube today, so you can share it as well, either from Instagram or from Facebook, anything. Thanks to all the guys that sent us the questions beforehand and made this interview even more interesting than having to answer my own questions, about what you've been doing right now and all that stuff.
Well, thank you, because, like I said, how Riot is, when people like you help us out and keep us keep us viable in the light and stuff like that. And thank you for all your questions, and the fans that are still there. We will definitely riot soon.
Have a great day, and
thank you.
Hope to speak again soon about a new album and see you again on the road, because that's where it matters.
We'll be back to Greece sooner than later, I guarantee, Sakis, and thank you very much, brother.
Bring Vasil with you.
I will. He'll be there.
Bye-bye. See you. Have a great day.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Shine on. Bye-bye.
Shine on, brother. Bye-bye.